Video game soundtracks are amazing. Through the years, fans have given more relevance to soundtracks, even demanding official and physical releases of them. Some even fetch gargantuan prices in the video game market. However, in the indie market, soundtracks fall in the more experimental territory. Some are made to convey certain emotions during gameplay. Some are energetic and memorable during your playtime, and others are so important that without them, the game wouldn't even exist. So in this episode of the Indiegrounds, we'll take a page of Steam's marketing ploys and list the 5 games that are music to my ears. There's a bunch of indie games, and most of them try to harken back to a gaming era that has long since passed. Usually, these games boast soundtracks that feel like their inspiration, but none of them feel as in line as Bug Fables. Bug Fables' soundtrack is legendary, composed by Tristan Ulrich. This soundtrack captures everything that made Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door's soundtrack great in the first place, making it exciting, fun, and a blast to listen inside and outside of the gameplay. It fits so well to the gameplay and the tone of the story that it definitely deserves a spot in this list. For the next 4 spots on this list, you are going to notice a pattern. You see, a soundtrack is just that, it's just music. It fits with the scenery and the tone of the game. But what happens when you transcend that barrier? What happens when it's the main character that plays the soundtrack? You get Katana 0. This game is a puzzle platformer that has given me the most amount of views on my channel. Not only its soundtrack is one of the most amazing things the game has to offer, but the main character actually plays the songs in his Walkman. The music is directly referenced in-game, and boy, does Zero has a good taste. The different artists did a fantastic number in each song. Hit the Floor and Sneaky Driver are so good I would listen to them on repeat without ever getting tired of it. This soundtrack is so emblematic for me not only because it's so good, but because it has a direct input on the game. So in spot number 4, we have Katana 0. For the next spot on this list, we have the most recent game to hit the market. A game where there's a clash of genres, where EDM is king and rock is the revolution. No Straight Roads is an amazing game in its own right, but the main selling point is definitely the soundtrack, and boy isn't it amazing. Every song has a rock variant, each piece belongs to an EDM subgenre, making each song as emblematic as it can be. The amazing riffs performed by Mayday clashing against the amazingly good vocals and beats by Sayu is amazing. NSR conveyed everything it had to offer into the soundtrack, making an absolute treat to listen inside and outside of the game. So in the 3rd spot, we have No Straight Roads. For the next spot, imagine that a group of people created an amazing album, and suddenly the guys over at Annapurna Interactive dive through the door and ask Simogo to make a video game out of it. And so, you get Sayonara Wild Hearts, an indie game that has the soundtrack built right into the gameplay. A soundtrack that produces feelings in the player. A soundtrack that assaults you right from the start of the playthrough, essentially taking you hostage all the way to the end, and once it's over, you want more. Sayonara Wild Hearts is a soundtrack that became a game, a soundtrack that tells a story, and that's why it's in the number 2 spot. Making this list was a blast to do. I rearranged every spot multiple times, I returned to specific games and scanned every soundtrack I ever came across. So the number 1 spot had to be something special. Remember when I said Sayonara Wild Hearts was a soundtrack that became a video game? How about a game where every room was made after its song? You get the birthday boy, Undertale. The myth, the meme, the legend, Toby Fox. The man that created one of the most emblematic soundtracks to ever grace not only the indie market, but the whole video game landscape. A soundtrack that pushed him into working alongside Game Freak and Masahiro fucking Sakurai. A soundtrack that was featured in Super Smash Bros. A soundtrack so legendary that inspired thousands of covers and remixes that would make any other video game soundtrack jealous. Undertale's soundtrack is the story. Every second of the game is accompanied by a musical piece that is so great that at this point nobody can contest it. This is the ultimate soundtrack. And to Undertale, I have to say, happy birthday. I hope you'll be remembered forever, not only by your amazing story, but for having a masterpiece of a soundtrack. And I'm looking forward for Deltarune. But that's going to be all from me for today. Thank you all you guys for watching. If you like the video, please hit the like button, and if you want to see more of the Indiegrounds, consider subscribing. There's a bunch of extra content you can see right now on my channel. And till then, I will see you guys pretty soon. Take care.